All right. So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our expert talks for the TiE University Global Hackathon. This morning we have two gentlemen joining us from the Houston region, Mr. Anup Alex and then Mr. Alok Pant. So, good morning, Anup. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Thank you so much. And then Mr. Alok. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, Alok, I want to give you an opportunity to just kind of tell the students what you do in the Houston area, and you've got a logo as your thumbnail. Care to share with us what is it that this company does, or your company does? Go ahead.
Sure. So, yeah, my name is Alok Pant. I'm CEO of Unwired. We're headquartered in Houston. We've got a lot of customers here in Houston and globally. We are a digital solutions company. We build mobile apps, web apps, and in this case, very is very pertinent. We have built a lot of chatbots for companies, and Anup will talk about it. And so we are really excited to share our knowledge and help your students along the way here.
Thank you so much, Alok, for joining us. And you've mentioned Anup is one of your colleagues there at this digital solutions company. Anup, what is it that you do with Alok?
I am one of the co-founders at Unwired, and I take care of the consulting business, business development, interacting with customers, and a lot of areas which is related to technology, mobile app development, chatbots, right? So that's my area of expertise, and uh,
Excellent. And you said some keywords which is very important to us today. In fact, I'm going to share my screen and talk about the challenge number 15 that Anup will help us tackle. So, as you've heard, Anup and Alok both are part of Unwire, spelled Unvired, and they're a digital solutions company, which means they problem solve all the time for their clients. So today, the focus for us is to look at this challenge number 15. Let me go to our TiE University website. So our hackathon theme is all about solving problems, using your problem solving skills. We have real world business challenges, 20 of them, and number 15 is all about AI chatbot. The sponsor, Husis, has sent us this description, and they're looking for a solution from our students this weekend. So before Sunday midnight, you need to submit a solution to if this is the one you want to tackle. So check out the project description. I'm just going to read it out. To develop a chatbot to be integrated into a HRIS application. So HRIS is Human Resource Information System. It can also be a human resource management system, right? And then it says, and any third-party software which should have standard APIs readily available for integration with any other software of any type as and when required. So it's a pretty broad of a problem set defined here. They want to incorporate an AI chat box for HR management systems, and they're asking for ideas and solutions around this. So let me go back here and see. They're expecting you to use technologies such as Flutter, Python, React, NLP engine to create your solutions. Now, if you don't have the tech skills yet, you can submit a draft or like a white paper on how this can happen by studying of the different technologies that are available to you, by using Google and seeing what things people are doing. You can craft out a solution in your 48 hours of hacking, and not actually have a prototype prepared. If you have the skills, create the prototype. That's going to help you a lot. If you don't have the skills, find a team member who has that skill, or go ahead and submit a solution draft, sort of a design draft of what you would do had you had more time. Our sponsor here, Husys, is committing to up to $15,000 of prize money towards, best solutions, but then also they're committing to some interns over the summer. So students, make sure you take a look at this. And now let's get Anup to give us um, an insight on how he would solve this problem if he were to work on it. So Anup, what would you do to start looking at this? Our customer has given us a problem set. What's the first thing you do, and then how do you solve this? Guidance for our students, please.
Sure. So a very interesting problem, Ravi. I think HR, use cases are one of those use cases among, used in companies which can be widely used across various sectors, irrespective of the company type. Unlike certain chatbots, like which is used only in manufacturing, the manufacturing chatbot or maybe supply chain and things like that. So a HR chatbot is useful for any corporate, any education institutions, where some kind of a system which is already used, where you apply leave or look at HR policies and so on and so forth, right? So we also have solutions actually around it, but obviously those are revolving around systems like SAP, Oracle, and such enterprise systems. And for this challenge, I think, or for this hackathon, obviously, I mean, it's always good to have a solution which is can be solved or can be demonstrated with a system which is more, open in nature and also simple in nature, right? So the first and foremost, I think we should pick, or I would actually go and pick the scenarios, or let's say the queries which are simple. For example, a creation of a leave, right, which is a very simple scenario, and if possible, actually along with it, actually approval of the leave, right, by the manager of an employee, and then maybe another scenario just to show a different kind of a use case. For example, looking into an HR policy. So somebody is querying about an HR policy or HR, for example, how many leaves are available, or what kind of leaves they can take for a certain situation. I mean, things like that, right? So there are two or three queries which can be picked. Number one. And obviously, to demonstrate this, you need systems, right? Some kind of systems which are available for you as an open system, rather than actually, maybe not ideally a trial account or maybe a paid account, right? So there are various systems which are actually available today. You can leverage, like for example, Orange HR system, which is an open source HRM or HRIS system. Bamboo HR, right? Something which a lot of companies are using, and which is a free, which actually has a free open edition. Then one of the new systems which we started using is a Centrifugo HRMS system, right? So these systems generally has open interfaces, right, which you can interact with and initiate task inside. So that's the first and foremost thing. You need to have some kind of a fulfillment system. I mean, this is called actually a fulfillment system, right? Which you can get the job done. So that's number one. And second is you need to for a chatbot to develop, actually, I mean, you can always build from first principles, actually, right? But it will not be very intuitive in nature, or very, it will not be very sophisticated in nature. So the second thing to look at is identifying some technology which, or a tool which is very open and easy to use with, and yet how is very powerful, right? So if you look at actually the leading NLP engines, or chatbot platform as such, right? If you look at actually in entirety, right? There is Google Dialogflow, there is Microsoft Bot Framework, there is also Facebook Wit.ai, right? So these platforms provide you an end-to-end kind of a feature set to interact with users via various channels, like like messengers, like Facebook, and so on and so forth. and also has a very capable model of integrating with a backend system or a fulfillment system. So, but the challenge, as I said earlier, is that we need to again pick a platform which is more open in nature and actually typically an open source system, which can be used and actually you can leverage the complete functionality, rather being in limited in a trial mode or something like that. So a platform like Rasa, RISA, will be a very good platform, to consider to go with. So I would go with a Rasa platform and leverage the power of the NLU or slash NLP engine, which is very powerful in Rasa. It has a very good way of defining your conversation stories, and and a good model to actually put up your training in terms of the conversation models. So Rasa I think is a good choice. So one is your HR system, then you need a bot platform kind of thing which you can actually define your user journey or the chat story, and third, obviously, how will the user interact with that system? I mean, obviously, it cannot be via kind of command line or maybe something very rudimentary, right? It has to be also an intuitive thing. So Rasa do provide integration to existing channels like Microsoft Teams or Google Assistant, which actually is typically a voice, and also Facebook Messenger and so on and so forth. So when you talk about an HR scenario, obviously that will be used in a kind of an institution or a corporate environment, right? So maybe I think integrating with Microsoft Teams is a good idea, right? So Microsoft Teams has an ability to actually host chatbots, which can be fulfilled by Rasa, right? So Rasa has the connectors to Microsoft Teams. So a user is talking via Microsoft Teams, where a chatbot is living, and then basically that goes into Rasa. I mean, Rasa does all kind of NLP, NLU, and then it comes to in certain conversations, Rasa has to go into a fulfillment system like a Bamboo HR or maybe a Centrifugal, whichever is actually the right system, and then fulfill your query and then come back with a response and give back to the user. That's basically the end-to-end flow will look like, right? So now the technologies which are generally used for this purpose is in terms of coding, right? It will be very limited coding, right? So if you look at Rasa on that side, it will be primarily based on Python, and some amount of scripting in terms of defining your conversation and everything, right? So that's with those two, I think we can complete of the chatbot demonstration. Now, this is actually how the entire thing can work and then can be demonstrated. And obviously, as I said in the beginning, actually, it's always wise to actually only pick one or two scenarios or one or two queries, so that you can complete that well within the stipulated time of 48 hours or maybe whatever you mentioned right now. So that's number one. And before you start, I think it's always a good idea, to put a kind of a mock conversation. How the conversation will look like. So there are readily available services or actually websites. For example, one of them is called botsociety.io, right, which is a very good tool or an online service where you can define your conversation completely. So if you have a small set of team who's working on this thing, right? I mean, you can one or two members can take initiative to actually define that flow. How you will interact with the chat in terms of getting a leave information or applying a leave, right? So whichever scenario you want to work on, and then you polish it actually, and then you make sure actually all those different branched conversation, everything is kind of done and addressed there, and then you basically map that entire thing. Once that is kind of reviewed and approved, right, within the team, you actually take that into the tools like Rasa, right? So which is very important, because once you start defining things in Rasa, right, I mean, you don't want to spend a lot of time there to see, okay, maybe I went with a different wrong flow, and then doing corrections, rather than actually you get into a kind of first designing the conversation very clearly, and make sure every kind of if and else, the so-called branching is addressed, the negative flow and such kind of things, the fallbacks and so on, right? And then you freeze that, and then translate that into a rasa engine via conversation stories. That's a kind of a steps I would do. So I don't want to go into too much of technology detail. So people who have already some familiarity with the chatbots, NLP, NLU, right? Once you start reading about Rasa, we'll be able to make out a lot of things from there. Obviously, we don't need to use all the advanced functionalities there. Just using simple things, I think we should be able to achieve these scenarios.
Anup, thanks for laying out the process here, and you've shared a lot of good resources. So I want to make sure I didn't miss any, especially you said Rasa. So it was, you spelled it out as RISA.
It's RASA.
RASA. Thank you. So Rasa, the platform, you said it's very popular. It's being used for for chatbots. You said it integrates into Google Assistants and also Teams. So with Google Assistant, it would be sort of a voice command where you can throw at it, and Google Teams could be the chat where the Teams would allow you to host a chat box. And then Rasa is, I guess, an acceptable platform on Teams that allows you to do that. You shared also on the HR system side, you said Bamboo. So is it BAMBOO, just bamboo as it sounds, or how is that spelled?
Yeah, Bamboo as it sounds. Yeah, Bamboo HR. Yeah.
Okay, and is this an open source, or is this just a very affordable choice for businesses for HR management?
So Bamboo HR has non-commercial usage allowed, right? Especially for education institutions and also for people or developers who want to try it out. So I think that makes it a very viable choice for somebody to try out all the functionalities in that, right? So you can actually set up a small company in that, assign a couple of team members who can mimic that kind of an organizational kind of structure, so that all this leave creation, leave approvals, everything can be simulated. Yes.
Okay, so good. So the good thing is, both of these keywords that you've shared, Anup, I think that searching for these things on Google, you're likely to find other complementary tools and suggestions. But this definitely helps those students who do not have the tech background for you to design out what you would do by researching and then using tools like Rasa as a way of searching. So that's really good. Now, if I caught you correctly, you said you wanted to really sit down and figure out, this mock conversation, how you want the user experience to be, and that's going to be very important because you can have the best systems in the world, but if it's not user friendly and no one wants to use it, then it's no good. Potentially not being able to monetize either. So when you said about creating that mock conversation, you referenced botsociety.io.
That's
Um, so this website, is this like a forum, or is this a tool, or what is this website?
So this website is a tool in itself. There's nothing to be downloaded into a machine actually. So you can online,
Okay.
you get a drag and drop online, tool sets there to define your flow to that detail. That's saying that, okay, so when the chatbot says hi, or when the user says hi, the chatbot can actually come with a kind of a greeting message and actually give two possibilities, right? You can approve, you can actually create leave, or you can look into your team's leave list of leaves, right? Then if somebody actually go with an option one, what happens? Somebody goes with option two, what happens? So the entire flow can be defined. This I'm just talking about a menu-driven approach, but typically when you actually really talk in natural language, right? So you can also take different branches, right? So that tool has an ability to demonstrate, a conversation in real, right? So once you clearly depict that there, it's very easy actually, and then you kind of define it completely there, and then you find out all kind of scenarios there. It's very easy to actually translate that into Rasa and then
Nice. So it sounds like you're able to put some mock conversation, take screenshots of it, so that you can put it in your PowerPoint slides when you're making this presentation. Would that be appropriate? That they'll be able to take either video recordings of a process or screenshots of what a conversation would look like. Can they do that from this botsociety.io tool?
yes. So once you define a conversation journey there, right? It
Mm-hmm.
can be as lengthy as possible, right? The entire thing will actually can be played, and then based on how you kind of go and click options, actually it will change the path and so on and so forth. It's very interactive in nature. So either you can give, I mean, students can actually when they are actually trying to do that, actually you can take a link of that and put that in the presentation, or you can take screenshots one by one, and so that you just depict the key process actually there. And also if somebody is using some kind of a recording in the computer, right, you can just record the entire thing and then put that as a kind of a video actually in the presentation.
Oh, great. So students should definitely check out these three things that you've shared: botsociety.io, Rasa, RASA, and Bamboo HR. Anup, I heard you also share, and you did so rather quickly, so I didn't catch all the names, but you shared three things with Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. I think Google, you said dialogue box.
Okay,
Could you repeat those?
yeah, sure. So I didn't go into too much of details there. I was just trying to emphasize the fact that there are various mature chatbot platforms or bot platforms available there for people to develop scenarios, right?
Hmm.
Now, Google Dialogflow is one of the good chatbot platforms out there, and obviously, I think they give some kind of a restricted use of that, in a free limited trial mode, right? And similarly, Microsoft Bot Framework, or I think they used to call them, earlier it's called Luis, right? So that's again the same kind of a
Anup, you faded away there a second there. Microsoft, what?
Microsoft Bot Framework,
Bots driver.
Bots Framework.
Oh, bots framework. Thank you for that.
No,
Bots
it's bot
framework.
frame, it's singular. Ravi, it's Microsoft bot framework.
Gotcha. Singular, not plural there. So BOT framework. Okay, and then you had a Facebook one as well.
And the third one is Facebook's wit.ai, wit.ai.
Gotcha. These are great keywords for students to actually start searching and seeing videos around this stuff. So this is where your expertise helps us a lot, Anup, because we're saving a lot of time. You're giving us the right jump start for students to go and see how these technologies work. And as you said, these are much more matured. So they're already in play. A lot of people who use the Google Assistant or the Cortana in their PCs uh, probably already utilize the softwares or tools in the background. But what you've suggested here, these would be some the top of the line chat box in the world, and if you sign up as a developer or you register to learn, to actually see how you can apply your, in this case, your challenge, you might end up creating something for a whole different client set here. But these are the three things that you can start with when you're looking at researching for this mature chat box. Is that correct, Anup?
That's right. So these are things actually I'll definitely try to see in terms of the functionality and how it can fit to a certain organization, right? So even if you start with Rasa is not that smooth when it comes to defining your conversation flow compared to probably a dialogue flow of Google. But obviously it has the power, right? And now, as I said earlier, since Rasa is an open source and it's a free tool, you can leverage the features completely of it without any time limit or without any feature limits, right? So that's a big advantage, and then can run in your own environment. Actually, you don't need to really leverage it from cloud if you want to, right? These are actually distinct advantages of that. But once you kind of gets a hang of the first chatbot and then get a understanding of everything, right? And depending on need, and let's say a company is actually, let's say you're trying to monetize that, and company is willing to actually look into tools like Google Dialogflow or maybe Microsoft, right? Those also can be looked at. So essentially, what you're doing is that whatever conversations you are defined in one chat platform, you can also go and define it in the other also. I mean, it will be a little different, but not fundamentally not very
No, that's great. Thank you. So, all right. So, look, I have a little less than 5 minutes on this call here, so I want to make sure I make the best use of our time here. What are so for students who are taking part in this hackathon? Some students already have the skills, and some students are looking to develop new skills. Some students are here to make new friends, and some students are interested in the cash prizes or the internships. What advice do you have for the students overall that are taking part in this hackathon this weekend, where they have up to 20 challenges to pick and choose? Do you think they're wasting their time, Anup?
No, of course not, actually. So even if you do not have the technical expertise already, right? I mean, it's a 48-hour challenge, right? So you cannot really build expertise just like that in hours, right? And then start preparing for that. But it's always good to be part of the journey to understand the process, right? So I would say, so let's say somebody is not really technically good, but at least that person could be actually really good in terms of imagining a conversation with maybe a human agent. Actually, for example, if I have to ask for certain information from a chat policy point of view, how will I ask, right? So maybe those individuals can actually help in terms of how the I'm just giving an example, actually, right? How the conversation flow can be, right, with the chatbot. So they're also contributing that way. As I said, right, when you define that initial mock chatbot flow in the bot society, right, that tool, I think those folks can actually help there. And then the other guys can actually pick up on, based on their skills, they can pick up maybe the fulfillment system integration, right, the so-called orange HRM or the bamboo HR or the centrifugal, right? They can actually evaluate those three systems very quickly and then find out, okay, these systems provide these open interfaces, so I'm going to pick this system. This is the best challenge, and then we'll use that, right? And then they'll start working on that as well. And the third, team or the small, stream can work on the bot platform, right? Who are kind of familiar with the NLP, NLU, and chatbot to some extent, right? So that way you can actually split the work, and actually everybody can be part of the journey.
So Ravi, real quick, I think I just
Yeah.
want to spend a minute on one thing we haven't talked about. If you look at the title, it says AI chatbot. Now, the whole idea, I know they only have 48 hours, but a chatbot has to be intelligent over time. It has to learn from what it has been interacting with, so they become smarter over time. So Anup, is TensorFlow, and maybe they should at least mention it so that people, because I think that will add a lot to their thinking. What would be a good AI tool for this that they can read about? Would TensorFlow be a good one, Anu, to build into the chatbot down the road?
So, Rasa inbuilt has various AI, components inside. So, for example, when you start training your model, right, the more data you provide that and train it, actually it becomes really good with conversations actually and handling ability, right? So absolutely what you mentioned is correct actually. Yeah, in a 48 hours actually you can get it trained actually, but I think you need to just demonstrate that, saying that okay, there is a training model, and then if you keep adding more and more training data and then keep training it over time, it'll improve the skills, right? So I think that's basically you can message it out actually part of the challenge.
Yeah, that's great, Alok. Thanks for sharing one more cool keyword that can help better the solution over time here. So, uh, but Anup, going back to that, what you said about the importance of team for this hackathon. So, if you're working alone for this hackathon, it's totally fine because we're taking one as a team. You can submit individually if you like, but the experience is not going to be the same when you work with others. And notice on the website, the TiE Hackathon website, where up to 5 members can be a team. If you do decide to, find a team over Saturday and then work on your solutions over Sunday, it would be in your favor because, as Alok and Anup both kind of shared, that there's so many technologies, and creating this mock conversation, getting feedback from other people on how should the conversation take place, and then going and researching some of the keywords. Maybe you can delegate the task of HR management system. Anup has shared Bamboo and Orange HR. Maybe have one person go and do some research there, bring back some screenshots of how things can work, how things can flow. Have another team member working on the platform for the chat box here. Rasa is recommended, but by all means, Google Dialogflow and Microsoft Bot Framework and the Facebook WIT.ai. These are all things that you have access to at your disposal. Tons of YouTube videos on how some of these things work, as well as you can register for these accounts primarily for free or very cheap cost. And then you can have another person working on the design and another person working on the pitch presentation. At the end of the day, you have to persuade your client that what you're proposing is both feasible, that it can happen. If you have a prototype, you've shown feasibility. If you don't have a prototype, you have to persuade the client, and that's where your business pitch will take place. So lots of good information. Thank you so much, Anup and Alok, for sharing with us on how you would tackle it. Lots of keywords, and obviously shows the expertise you guys have in doing this for your clients over the years. And last question for both of you. Can students find you on LinkedIn and reach out for guidance over this weekend or maybe in the future if they want to possibly find internships from your company? Any thoughts on that? Do you take student interns, or do you need them qualified before you take them? How can they get in touch with you, and what type of student aid do you take?
So they can find us on LinkedIn for sure. Both of us are there. And yeah, we are open to taking interns. We've not taken a whole lot, but definitely open to taking interns for sure.
Good. Any specific skill sets you guys usually need or look for, so it helps you narrow down?
No, it's a very broad set because we build web apps, mobile apps, chatbots. So, it's all across the board.
Gotcha. So you're looking for students with some skills in this tech space. Anup, are you going to say something?
Oh no, what Alok said is actually very true. I mean, we work on various technologies here actually because of the mobile app and the chatbots and web apps, right? So right from JavaScript, Android technologies like Flutter and Microsoft .NET, machine learning, AI technologies. We are everywhere actually. So, but anybody who's really smart and actually can contribute to any of this, definitely I think it's
Awesome. So thanks for that. So students, reach out to Anup Alex and Alok Pant on LinkedIn, and then make sure you reference TiE Houston so they can connect the dots of how they learn, how you learned about them and what they do. Both, if you have questions about challenge number 15, uh, or if you've got, if you're in Houston, check out their company, and then if you're looking for internships, you've got skills, now you want to put it to good use, reach out to them to see if you have an opportunity to help solve problems for their clients. So folks, that's all we had planned for today. So I want to thank Anup and Alok for sharing your time with us, your expertise with us, and then mentoring our students for the TiE Global Hackathon. Any questions for me?
No, I'm good, Ravi. Thank you so much for giving an opportunity. And then we look forward. Actually, the team will pick up this, and then
Yeah, and good luck to all your students.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, good luck to all the students. Just a quick reminder, you want to submit all of your solutions before midnight on Sunday. After the 14th midnight, the system closes down. We will have evaluators looking at the solutions on the 15th and 16th, all the way up to the 17th, before we announce our semifinalists. And it's very important that if you intend to take part, that you submit your solutions. Do the best you can, but get them into the system as quick as possible. But with that, I want to ask Samia to stop the recording, and thank you so much, everybody.